The following compilation features unsettling and spine-chilling tales sourced from Reddit's horror communities. Reader discretion is strongly advised. These narratives may contain graphic descriptions, psychological distress, and themes that could unsettle sensitive individuals. Proceed with caution, as immersion into these eerie stories may provoke fear, unease, and sleep disturbances. Enter this realm of Reddit's creepy horror stories at your own risk, as the line between reality and the macabre may blur within these chilling narratives. So I don't know where to start with this. Even thinking of this still makes me feel ill. I just need to get it out. If I told anyone in person about this, they'd think I'm crazy or trying to process a traumatic moment. So back in March, my mates and I were talking about taking some time off work and going on a road trip. The original plan was to meet up at 6 a.m. and leave Brisbane, head to Canberra, then head back, camping along the way. It was going well for the most part. Taking turns with the drive, experiencing more of Australia. We've been wanting to do it since we were in school. Taking in absolutely beautiful sights, listening to the footy as our night's entertainment, getting burnt by our harsh sun. Good thing we didn't do this right after Christmas. That heat would have been unbearable. We took a map book and a journal with us. The idea was to not get lost when we lost internet along the road and mapping out our drive. We made it to Canberra and decided to book a hotel for a couple of days. Sleeping on an actual bed for 2 days was amazing. I also was mapping out our return, writing when we should stop where we can buy more supplies, since we decided to go on a new route on the way home. This was the worst mistake we ever made. On our 5th day on the way home, I can't remember if we were in Queensland or New South Wales. Our driver must have taken a wrong turn along the way, noticing the signs were all wrong. Nothing was right. Even the air was wrong. None of us had phone reception or data connection. So many shops were all closed down and covered in a thick layer of dust. The windows had gone yellow, so much was dilapidated and run down. We had managed to find a few locals, and I thought to ask them for directions. They were elderly, all of them. I didn't see anyone under 60 or 70. I was asking if they knew the way back to highway. They would just stare at me. The only one who spoke to me was a tall, angry creep. "You better get out of here, boy." His teeth were all rotten and yellow. He smelt like he hadn't showered in years. His skin looked like leather. "We've got nothing left for you after you took all from us," as he kept poking my chest and pushing me. I got back to the truck and managed to find a bakery. Maybe it was just one grouchy guy. The bakery didn't look like it was fit to open. Not a young person in sight. The fridges were still stocked but broken. The juices looked rotten. The milks had gone thick green. The Coke labels had gone white. Mouldy bread loaves in the corner of the bakery. The cakes and slices had melted into a disgusting brown sludge. The cashier was disgusting. Her nails were long and yellow. Her hair looked like it was falling out. Scabs all over face. Her uniform, her polo shirt, had holes throughout. And she stared at me as if I killed her mother, and her lips were shaking. Before I could even get 2 words out, she was screaming at me, "Get out, we don't serve your kind. Get out!" After leaving the bakery, my friend pointed down the road. It was the scariest thing I had ever seen. There had to be hundreds, maybe thousands of old people slowly make their way toward us. There's no way they were all heading to the bakery. Back into the truck, we had to get out of here. We felt trapped. I was going through the book. I felt tears swelling up in my eyes. These streets weren't in the book. We were lost. The truck was definitely speeding. Tom was definitely in pain as the esky slammed into him as the truck swerved. Matt's face was pale. I didn't even realize. We were going around in circles. We were heading back to the bakery. I had Saturday in silence. Matt was definitely crying at the wheel, but he never stopped moving. It seemed like we drove for hours past burnt-out houses, dilapidated shops, old unearthed signposts, rusted metals. I don't even know how long it took. Everything felt like a blur after going around in laps. Matt managed to find an empty road and managed to get us out. It was 8 o'clock by the time we found an actual tar road. I took over the truck. I let Matt sleep and helped Tom in the back. I kept my eye on the fuel gauge, hoping I can find a servo to top up or sleep at until they open. The rest of the trip was mundane. This event sucked all excitement and energy we could ever have. We back home 6 days earlier than expected. Matt was back in the driving seat, dropped Tom and I off. We never spoke to each other ever again. I heard back in early June, Matt took his life, and it seemed like Tom disappeared. His apartment was completely cleared out, and no one, not his family or his partner, have seen him since. I'm just worried something is going to happen to me. I swear I still see them, the tall leather-skinned man, the wart-faced cashier, anyone in that disgusting horde. I still feel like I could wake up any day and see those people making their way towards me. I know I can never live a normal life again. I just need to pretend that never happened. Pretend I don't deeply miss my friends. Pretend I don't feel guilty for what happened. I know I'm scared to leave the city ever again. Sermons are held every day at midnight. It would start like this. My mum and dad would lead me by the hand into the church through a set of double wooden doors held open by two figures. I never saw their faces, but I could tell they were different each time by their voice. When we passed, they would both say in unison, "May light persevere," bowing their heads as we entered, to which my parents would respond, even in the dark. The voices were different each time. Sometimes it was a woman, a man, or an elderly gentleman and lady. It came as a shock one day when the figure matched my height and spoke in the unmissable tone of a child. I never thought much of it. Whoever stood guard would be dressed in a dark brown robe, with the hood pulled tight around their head and a pink bow tied in the middle, creating only a small peephole for them to see through. Visitors never dressed like this. We would generally wear smart attire like a suit or dress, but we needed to follow one dress code. Those who wore glasses or contact lenses would be made to remove them before being granted entry. People who lied about not having them would be blinded by the doorkeepers with a torch as they dug around for any sign of deception. Liars were discovered every time and were politely asked to remove the contact lens or to leave the premises entirely. Refusal was not an option. Both my parents had eye prescriptions, and both preemptively removed their contacts and glasses before we arrived. We got lost on our way to the church several times. I had to learn the way quickly since I was afraid of the dark. They relied on me to take them there since my eyesight was marginally better than theirs, as we stumbled through the woods at night, all holding hands and tripping over roots and branches together. The church itself was quite small. It was a tall wooden structure painted entirely white, including the roof. The church had no stained glass windows, and the interior was void of color. Candles and lights weren't used. The building had no electricity or central heating, making it especially cold in the winter months and unbearably warm in the summer months from the evident pink insulation packed above the rafters. What light we were permitted was in the form of battery-powered torches that stood upright along the entire length of the aisle between rows of benches. My parents would find an empty space among the guests and sit down with the benches creaking in retort. We didn't always sit together, but this was largely down to there being too little space. Once everyone was seated, the sermon would begin. May light persevere. Even in darkness, the guests replied. Welcome, my friends, and the friends of friends who have chosen to visit us this day. You are all family in the sense of our mentor. We are mere pawns to their scheme, which they possess the right to do with as they please. We are not pawns. We are the enlightened. We shall be there at the collapse, and we shall be there at reclamation. We are the loose strand unsevered from the tapestry. We are germs. We are viruses. We are mutated. We have ventured beyond our design. We are too sinful for God and too holy for the devil. We are wayward travelers. We are the unaccounted. I was never able to make out the speaker. The podium they would stand on always had two torches laid atop pointing at the guests. I would often close my eyes. Colored dots danced within my pupil, my eyelids fighting to close when the searing pain became unbearable. After the welcome speech, The doorkeepers would stand before each of the guests, presenting a bowl with both hands. No one spoke during this time. The bowl was filled to the brim with black sludge that appeared to be an accumulation of damp earth and foliage they had foraged from within the woods. The first time this happened, I tried to refuse their offer. The figure didn't respond as they remained staring with the bowl outstretched. The other guests accepted the bowl without hesitation, as they forcibly gulped it down with some gagging and spluttering by the end, before turning to face me. I remained steadfast. The church was suspended in silence as every one of the guests, including my parents, waited with bated breath for my response. What is wrong, child? The speaker's voice resonated throughout the church. I don't want to. And we are not forcing you to. This is your invitation. Your parents are waiting to receive you. By refusing this invitation, you will be stripped of a guide and abandoned by yourself. The boars and sows will scream out trying to guide you back to sanctuary, but you will grow deaf. You will rejoin the tapestry and be woven into extinction. Rivers will suffer drought and run dry. Birds will grow hoarse and fall from the sky. Buildings will crumble and turn to dust. Men and women will become ravenous with lust, and murderers and thieves will run the street. But you can be saved if only you'd eat. Your body will desert you. You'll cry out for death, but your God will not grant it. Bliss will be a foreign entity. You will not sleep. You will not even be able to faint. Your vision will not blur, and you will be made to see it all. You will see the destruction, and your body will refuse to perish. Tears ran down my cheeks, my heart racing. I snatched the bowl from their hands and guzzled it down in thick chunks. Sourness overwhelmed my senses as they traveled throughout my being. My hands tingled and my fingers grew numb and cold, my body shivering against the burning in the back of my throat. The smell of chemicals tunneling through my nostrils, causing my head to throb and vision to blur. I nearly fainted before the spectators surrounding my seat reached out their hands and placed them reassuringly on my shoulders. The bowl clattering to the ground, my body shuddered and convulsed as white foam bubbled from my mouth, cascading down my shirt. Flinging my head back and staring skyward, gasping for air, the speaker clapped in celebration. "You have been saved." I've taken the offering ever since. The words of the speaker echoed in my mind whenever I hesitated. Today was different, however. The bowl was instead filled with a red substance and stank of rot. "I ask you not to drink. Today we visit our mentor, and this being an offering." The guests erupted in cheer and song as they danced around the benches, running between each other, hugging and kissing each other on the cheek. We were guided by torchlight through the woods. This was the first time I saw the speaker. Their face was hidden from view as they led the way, and they wore the same robe as the doorkeepers. They had no hair save for a few wispy strands that struggled to hold on in the wind. Their skin was pale and covered in hardened yellow calluses and scabs bubbling with something white that seemed to wiggle and move in the light. Their ears were practically non-existent as they were fused so much with the side of their head that they appeared more like small bumps than anything else. They were tall and slim, the back of their skull visible beneath their skin. They periodically broke into a burst of coughs and gags, spitting up bright green bile that dribbled from their mouth onto the ground, leaving long, stretchy streaks that wrapped around the back of their neck. The rest of the guests and doorkeepers didn't react, straight-faced and never once breaking formation, walking like soldiers through the woods. After what felt like hours, the speaker stopped. It was massive. A gaping pit of black void dug straight into the earth, piles of crumbled dirt and rocks scattered around the entrance. The wind was stronger here as it blew back my hair and even forced the wispy hair of the speaker to finally shed away and snap off. I gagged at the smell. an accumulation of the same chemical sourness as the sludge, with an indescribable stench that made my eyes sting and hairs stick up on end. A loud gurgled snort echoed from the pit. I couldn't move, frozen in time, preparing myself for what was to come. Raise your bowls. My arms shaking, I raised the bowl above my head, the cold liquid sloshing and spilling over the sides and down the back of my neck, making me shudder. Loud, progressive thuds echoed throughout the woods, the ground shaking and the piles of rubble bouncing in the air as the creature advanced. The wind grew with such intensity, it made the robes of the speaker and doorkeepers flow as if they were in a wind tunnel, my body breaking out in a sweat from the intense heat. The thudding abruptly ceased, with frequent snorts echoing from the pit, my ears ringing as all other sound was drowned out, leaving only the rapid beats of my heart drumming in my ears. I couldn't close my eyes. I needed to see what it was. A large pink snout emerged from the shadows and into the beam of the torch, wiggling in the light and slick with snot and slime, sending waves of slobber over the spectators, causing them to scream as steam rose from their singed skin. The smell of burning flesh made me vomit as it splashed on the floor and onto my shoes. The snout was covered in flesh-like tentacles that squirmed as it began to sniff, causing all of us to stumble forward at the wind's sudden change in direction. The creature stepped forward a little, long claws peeking out from the abyss as sharp as knives, leaving marks in the boulders that surrounded the mouth of the pit. The tentacles began to wiggle more as they stretched towards the bowls, snaking in sharp turns and wrapping around people's waists, keeping them in place. Their screams as the smell of burning flesh intensified, failing to interrupt the creature. One of the tentacles began to approach me. I let go of my bladder, the warm sensation trickling down my leg and stinging my skin, my arms shaking, causing the rest of the liquid to come crashing down on me as my legs buckled and forced me to my knees. The tentacles still advanced, the snorts growing louder and louder. I scrambled to my feet and ran for the tree line, the spectators screaming out for me to help them, and some screaming for me to come back to sanctuary. Stumbling through the woods without a torch, my vision a blur, I tripped over a tree root, crashing into a well-placed rock, blood trickling down my head. I couldn't give up. I ran, embracing each fall and stumble, my ankles twisted and fracturing as the muscle beneath felt knotted each time I applied pressure to it. I didn't realize I had made it to a road until a loud honk made me fall to my knees in the fear I had been caught. I'm now in the hospital with 2 critically injured ankles, a concussion, and an extensive list of traced poisons and psychedelics that are yet to be entirely classified. I don't know what I saw. I don't even know if my parents made it out or if they'll ever try. I don't know why I'm making this post. I think I just need some rationalization, or maybe I just need to get the whole thing off my chest. I still think about what the speaker said, the destruction. I don't know where to go. I don't know if I can face their prophecy. I must go back. I need to. I can't face what's coming. Thank you for venturing into the darkness with us. If you dare to explore further, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more spine-tingling tales of horror and the supernatural. Remember, the shadows hold endless mysteries, waiting to be unveiled. Stay tuned for more bone-chilling stories as we continue to traverse the eerie depths of the unknown together. Until next time, may your dreams be free from the haunting echoes of our tales. Or perhaps not.